Marcus Reed stood at the massive viewing window of Space Station Nexus, watching the swirling purple gas giant below. His worn leather boots and simple Earth-made uniform stood out among the flowing robes and metallic suits of the alien diplomats around him. While they avoided getting too close to him, their whispers carried clearly across the chamber. A human. Here. The message from the Galactic Council had been unexpected. Marcus had been studying dangerous creatures on frontier worlds when the urgent call came. Now, standing before the Council's reception chamber, he couldn't help but smile at the irony. These advanced species, with all their technology and knowledge, needed help from a primitive Deathworlder. Two guards approached him, their environmental suits glowing with protective fields. "The Council will see you now," one said through a translator. Marcus nodded and followed them into a vast, circular chamber. 12 representatives sat on elevated platforms, their bodies hidden in shadows and mist. Xenobiologist Marcus Reed, a voice boomed from above. "Do you know why we have called you here? Your message mentioned something about an out-of-control wildlife preserve," Marcus replied calmly. "Though I suspect there's more to it than that." A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a massive space station shaped like a twisted ring. "This is Research Station Deep Wild," another council member spoke. "It houses the most dangerous predatory species we have discovered across 500 galaxies, and now we are losing control of it." Marcus watched as the hologram changed, showing massive creatures stalking through specialized habitats. Some moved like liquid mercury, others seemed to fade in and out of reality, and a few looked like they could tear through starship hulls with their claws. "We have lost 23 of our best handlers in the past month alone," a third voice added. "The creatures are becoming more aggressive, more intelligent, and our containment systems are failing. And you called a human because—" Marcus already knew the answer, but he wanted to hear them say it. There was a long pause before the first voice spoke again. "Because you come from a world that should not have produced intelligent life. Earth is classified as a death world, a planet so hostile that civilization should have been impossible. Yet your species not only survived but thrived among predators that would be considered apex hunters on most worlds." Marcus stepped closer to the hologram, studying the various containment sectors. "You want me to understand these creatures because I come from a world of killers. We want you to help us because your species has experience that none of us possess," the second voice corrected. "You understand predators in a way we cannot. Our previous experts approached this problem with technology and force. All of them failed." The hologram zoomed in on one particular habitat, where something huge and dark moved in the shadows. "This facility is too valuable to abandon," the council continued. "The research conducted here is vital to understanding how species evolve and adapt. If we cannot regain control, we will be forced to terminate all specimens." Marcus felt a familiar excitement building in his chest. This was exactly the kind of challenge he lived for. "I'll need full access to all records and habitats," he said. "And I work my way. No interference." The council members shifted uncomfortably. "Your methods may be unconventional by our standards," the first voice said carefully. "But given the circumstances, we are prepared to grant you considerable latitude. However, you should know that no human has ever worked with creatures of this caliber. Most of these species could kill you in seconds." Marcus smiled. "On Earth, we have a saying. The most dangerous animal is the one you don't respect. I'm not here to dominate your predators. I'm here to understand them." The council conferred briefly in hushed tones before reaching a decision. "Very well. You will depart for Deep Wild immediately. The facility's AI will be instructed to give you full access. Do try to stay alive," Xenobiologist Reed. "Finding another human willing to take this job would be problematic." As Marcus left the chamber, he heard one council member whisper to another, "Did we just put humanity's most dangerous predators in charge of our most dangerous predators?" The answer to that question would soon reshape the galaxy's understanding of both humanity and the nature of predatory species forever. The transport ship docked with Deep Wild Station with a gentle thud. Marcus grabbed his worn duffel bag and stepped through the airlock, immediately noticing the higher gravity, set to match the average of most predator homeworlds. The dimmer lighting made sense too. Most hunters preferred the dark. A floating blue creature that looked like a jellyfish crossed with a cloud waited for him. Multiple tentacles held various devices, and its transparent body pulsed with soft light as it spoke through a translator. I am Blue. The Council assigned me as your assistant, though I don't understand why they think a human can succeed where our best experts failed. Marcus smiled at the blunt honesty. Nice to meet you too, Blue. How about you show me what I'm dealing with? Blue led him through curved corridors with windows looking into various habitats. We have 67 species of apex predators here. Each one is the most lethal hunter from its home system. The jellyfish alien stopped at one window. Like the shadow stalkers, they can partially phase through solid matter. Marcus watched as a black, tiger-sized creature walked partly through a tree, its body becoming ghost-like. Fascinating. Have they always been able to phase through their containment fields? No. Blue's lights flickered with concern. They learned to do it 3 months ago. We had to add 4 more layers of barriers. The assistant moved to another window. And here are the mind hunters. They use psychic attacks to stun prey. They never showed signs of cooperation before, but now they hunt in packs. Marcus studied the sleek, silver creatures that moved like liquid metal. Their eyes glowed with obvious intelligence. These habitats are all connected through the station's central core, right? Yes, for resource and atmosphere cycling. But the barriers aren't just failing. Marcus interrupted. They're being tested. Systematically. He pointed to scratch marks on the walls. Those aren't random. They're in the same spots across different sections. The predators are sharing information. Blue's body pulsed rapidly, apparently their version of alarm. That's impossible. These species can't communicate with each other. They're too different. Marcus walked to another window, where a massive creature with crystal spines along its back was repeatedly throwing itself against a specific point in the barrier. They don't need to talk. They're learning by watching. On Earth, we have crows that figure out complex puzzles just by seeing other crows solve them. These predators are doing the same thing. But why? They have food, space, perfect habitats. Because they're bored, Marcus said simply. You've created an artificial environment with no real challenges. Predators need mental stimulation. They need to work for their survival. He turned to Blue. I need to see your feeding protocols. The jellyfish alien led him to a control room filled with screens and holograms. Each species gets its nutritional requirements delivered at optimal intervals. Marcus scrolled through the feeding schedule. That's the problem. There's no hunt, no challenge. You're treating them like simple animals, but they're not. They're problem solvers, survivors. He pointed to the shadow stalkers. Look, they started phasing through walls right after you made their food delivery system fully automated. They're not trying to escape. They're trying to hunt. Blue's tentacles waved in agitation. The Council won't allow live prey in the habitats. It's too dangerous. We don't need live prey. We need puzzles, challenges. Marcus started typing. I want to go into the crystal spine habitat. What? Blue's whole body flashed bright with shock. Those creatures have killed 6 handlers. Because the handlers tried to control them through force. I want to understand them. Marcus pulled up the habitat schematics. Look at how they move. They're pack hunters, like wolves. They have a social structure. We can work with that. The Council said you would have full access, Blue said reluctantly. But I must warn you. No one has ever survived direct contact with a mature crystal spine. Marcus checked the airlock controls. There's always a first time. Besides, these creatures aren't just hunting for food anymore. They're hunting for something more interesting. He smiled. And I plan to give them exactly that. Blue watched as Marcus prepared to enter the habitat. You humans really are as crazy as they say. Not crazy, Marcus corrected. We just understand what it means to be both predator and prey. Sometimes the best way to handle a hunter isn't to cage it. It's to give it a worthy challenge. The airlock cycled, and Marcus stepped into the realm of one of the galaxy's deadliest species, ready to test his theory that even the most dangerous predators could be understood by someone who came from a world of hunters. The crystal spine pack watched Marcus from the shadows of their habitat. Their bodies glowed with faint blue light, razor-sharp crystals catching the dim illumination. The largest one, nearly the size of a horse, stepped forward with its head low and teeth bared. Through the habitat speakers, Marcus could hear Blue's frantic warnings. They're going to attack. Get out now. Marcus stayed perfectly still, keeping his breathing steady. No, they're not. This is a dominance display. Look at their body language. They're testing me. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device he'd prepared. The pack leader's head tilted with curiosity. What are you doing? Blue's voice shook with nervousness. Introducing myself properly. Marcus activated the device, which projected a holographic maze in the air between him and the creatures. Inside the maze, a small light moved, looking like prey. The pack watched, crystal spines glowing brighter with interest. The leader approached the hologram, sniffing at it. Marcus pressed another button, making the light prey move through the maze. The creature's eyes followed. And then, to Blue's amazement, it reached out with one clawed hand and tried to predict where the prey would emerge. They're problem solvers, Marcus explained quietly. They don't just want food. They want the satisfaction of earning it. He made the holographic prey more complex, adding patterns to its movement. Soon, the whole pack was engaged, working together to solve the puzzle. Incredible, Blue whispered. But how did you know they wouldn't just attack you? Because I'd watched them watch me. Notice how they position themselves. It's like wolves or big cats from Earth. They're social hunters. They respect hierarchy. Marcus slowly sat down, still running the hologram. Now comes the tricky part. Over the next hour, Marcus gradually made the puzzle harder. The pack worked together, communicating through subtle movements of their spines and soft clicking sounds. When they successfully predicted where the prey would emerge, Marcus tossed them real food rewards, special protein cubes he'd prepared with Blue's help. You're training them like pets, Blue exclaimed. No, Marcus corrected. I'm giving them what they need. Mental stimulation, social interaction, and a chance to use their hunting skills. Look at their spines. The crystals along their backs had changed color, shifting from aggressive red to a calmer blue. The pack leader had moved closer to Marcus, not threatening now but curious. It made a series of clicks, and Marcus clicked back, imitating the sound. That's impossible, Blue said. Our best linguists tried to communicate with them for months. Your linguists tried to teach them new languages. I'm learning theirs. Marcus reached out, palm up, toward the pack leader. The creature stared at his hand, then slowly extended its own massive paw, crystal claws retracted. Through the observation window, other predators from nearby habitats had gathered to watch. The shadow stalkers phased partially through their walls to get a better view. The mind hunters pressed against their barriers, their silver bodies rippling with interest. They're all watching, Blue observed. Why? Because they're all bored, all looking for something new. Marcus stood up slowly, the pack leader moving back respectfully. These aren't just animals. They're intelligent beings that need enrichment, challenges, and respect. He walked to the habitat door, the crystal spines moving aside to let him pass. None of them made aggressive moves. Instead, they watched him with what could only be described as anticipation. Tomorrow, Marcus said as he exited, we start changing how all the habitats work. No more automated feeding. No more simple containment. We're going to give them what they really want. A chance to be what they are. And what's that? Blue asked. Hunters. Problem solvers. Living beings worthy of respect. Marcus looked at the other habitats, where dozens of the galaxy's deadliest predators watched him with new interest. They don't need to be controlled. They need to be challenged. The Crystal Spine Pack's leader made one final clicking sound as the door closed. It sounded almost like approval. Marcus had passed their test, and in doing so, had started a revolution in how the galaxy's most dangerous creatures would be understood. The warning sirens caught Marcus in the middle of setting up new enrichment puzzles for the Mind Hunters. Red emergency lights flashed through the station corridors as Blue rushed in, their jellyfish body pulsing with panic colors. The main power core is failing. Backup systems are only at 30%. Blue's tentacles waved frantically at the displays. The containment fields are starting to drop. Marcus watched as status indicators turned red across the station map. He could hear the distant sound of emergency doors slamming shut. How long until complete failure? 10 minutes, maybe less. The automated defense systems are activating. They'll terminate all specimens if the containment fails completely. Blue's voice shook. We have to evacuate. But Marcus was already studying the power distribution diagram. Look at these readings. This isn't a random failure. The power loss started in specific sections, like something was testing the system. A realization hit him, or like something was creating a path. A tremendous crash echoed through the station. Through the observation windows, Marcus could see shadow stalkers phasing through their barriers, their bodies flickering between solid and ghost-like states. In another section, Mind Hunters were pooling their psychic abilities to short out security systems. They're all working together, Blue said in disbelief. But that's not possible. They're not trying to escape, Marcus said, watching the patterns of movement. Look, they're staying in their sections, but they're clearing the barriers between habitats. They're trying to reach each other. The Crystal Spine Pack emerged from their habitat, but instead of attacking, they positioned themselves at key junctions. Other predators were doing the same, creating a complex pattern across the station. The automated defense turrets began to deploy, targeting lasers painting deadly points on the creatures. We have to shut down the defense systems, Marcus said, moving to a control panel. They'll kill everything. But the predators. Trust me. Marcus's fingers flew over the controls. Remember what I said about them being intelligent. They're not trying to break out. They're trying to break down the walls between them. This is about territory and social structure. The station shuddered as more barriers fell. Through the chaos, Marcus could see something remarkable. The predators were organizing themselves. The Crystal Spine Pack was establishing boundaries. The Mind Hunters were coordinating movements, and the Shadow Stalkers were acting as scouts, phasing through walls to check different areas. Blue, help me reroute emergency power to life support and gravity control. Forget the containment fields. Marcus pulled up the station's layout. We need to let this happen. Let what happen? Blue asked, even as their tentacles moved to help. They're creating their own ecosystem. Look, the crystal spines are setting up territories that match their pack structure. The Mind Hunters are establishing hunting grounds that don't overlap with the others. They're not fighting each other, they're organizing. A group of station security officers arrived, weapons drawn. We have orders to terminate all specimens. Their leader shouted. Wait. Marcus stepped between them and the nearest habitat. Look at them. If they wanted to kill us, they would have done it already. They're intelligent enough to understand cooperation and territory. We can work with this. As if to prove his point, the Crystal Spine Pack leader stepped forward, positioning itself between its pack and the security team. It wasn't threatening, it was protecting. Other predators were doing the same, creating clear boundaries and showing unprecedented levels of organization. Stand down, Marcus ordered the security team. I'll take full responsibility, but we're witnessing something unprecedented here. These creatures aren't just adapting, they're creating a society. The next few minutes were tense as the power stabilized, and the predators finished establishing their new territories. Where there had been sterile, separated habitats, now there was an interconnected network of spaces, each species claiming its area, but maintaining clear paths of communication with others. Blue's body had shifted to a color of amazement. They planned this, all of them, together. Marcus nodded, watching as the galaxy's deadliest predators demonstrated a level of intelligence and cooperation that would forever change how they were understood. They didn't want freedom. They wanted community. And now we have to learn how to work with that. The crystal spine leader made its clicking sound again, and this time, it was answered by calls and sounds from every species in the station. It wasn't chaos. It was communication. The next phase of Marcus's mission was about to begin, and it would be more challenging than anyone could have imagined. Marcus sat in the station's data center, surrounded by holographic displays showing years of research data. After the crisis, the Council had granted him full access to all files, including the classified ones. What he found made his blood run cold. "Blue, look at this." He pointed to a set of genetic markers. They'd been splicing Earth predator genes into these species for years, testing how they adapt. Blue floated closer to the display, their jellyfish body dimming with concern. But why? The Council said this was just a preservation facility. They wanted to understand how Earth created such dangerous species. Marcus pulled up more files. Look at these observation notes. They were trying to figure out why humans survived on a world full of predators, while most intelligent species evolved on safer planets. Through the nearest window, they could see the new hybrid ecosystem the predators had created. The crystal spine pack was teaching hunting techniques to a group of younger shadow stalkers, while mind hunters shared their territory with smaller species in a complex social arrangement. "They're evolving faster than anyone expected," Blue said, watching the creatures interact. "The Council must have known this would happen." Marcus nodded grimly. That was the point. They weren't just studying these predators. They were studying how Earth's evolutionary pressure created humans. He brought up another file. "Look at these intelligence tests. Every species here has shown massive cognitive development in the past year alone." A small group of mind hunters approached the window, their silver bodies rippling with patterns that Marcus had learned to recognize as communication. They were curious about the data displays, watching the scrolling information with obvious interest. "We thought we were so clever," Blue said quietly. "Creating the perfect containment systems, the perfect habitats. But we were the ones in an experiment all along." Marcus stood up and walked to the window. Not just an experiment. A mirror. He placed his hand against the glass, and one of the mind hunters matched his gesture from the other side. They wanted to understand how a species could evolve intelligence while surrounded by deadly predators. But they didn't realize that the predators would evolve too. The crystal spine pack leader appeared, making the clicking sounds that Marcus now understood as leadership calls. The other creatures responded, moving with purpose and coordination that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. "Your methods," Blue said suddenly. "The puzzles, the challenges, the respect. You weren't just training them. You were treating them the way early humans must have interacted with Earth's predators." "Exactly." Marcus pulled up Earth's evolutionary history. "On our world, we learn to understand predators by becoming like them. Not just fighting them, but learning from them. These creatures aren't just getting smarter. They're following the same path we did." Through the station's corridors, they could hear the complex songs of the shadow stalkers echoing, a new form of communication they had developed. The mind hunters responded with pulses of psychic energy that Marcus had learned to interpret as language. "The Council won't like this," Blue warned. They wanted to understand humans, not create new intelligent species. Marcus smiled. "But that's exactly what made humans what we are. We didn't just survive among predators. We learned to communicate with them, to understand them. And now," he gestured to the thriving ecosystem before them, "now we're teaching them to do the same." A young crystal spine creature approached the window, carrying one of Marcus's puzzle devices in its claws. It had modified the device, making it more challenging. The creature looked at Marcus expectantly, waiting for his approval of its innovation. "They're not just test subjects anymore," Marcus said softly. "They're becoming something new, something that could change everything we think we know about intelligence and evolution." Blue's body shifted to a color Marcus had never seen before, a deep, thoughtful purple. "And you knew this would happen, didn't you? From the moment you stepped into that first habitat." "I hoped," Marcus admitted. "Because on Earth, we learned that the most dangerous thing about predators isn't their teeth or claws. It's their ability to adapt, to learn, to become more than what they were meant to be." He watched as the creatures continued their intricate social interactions. "And now we get to help them do exactly that." Through the station's vast windows, the purple gas giant turned slowly, witnessing the birth of something unprecedented. A new kind of intelligence, born from the marriage of Earth's evolutionary lessons and the galaxy's deadliest predators. The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats as they watched the live feed from Deep Wild Station. On the main screen, Marcus stood in the middle of what they had once called the kill zone, the space between habitats where no one had survived for more than a few minutes. But now it was something entirely different. "As you can see," Marcus explained, "surrounded by various predator species, they've developed their own social structure. The crystal spines act as territory managers, the shadow stalkers handle exploration and scouting, and the mind hunters have become mediators between different groups." The largest crystal spine, which Marcus now called Rex, stood calmly beside him. It used its claws to manipulate a complex puzzle cube, solving it faster than most alien scientists could. Behind them, a group of shadow stalkers were teaching younger predators how to phase through solid matter safely. "This is dangerous," one council member protested. "They're becoming too intelligent, too organized." Blue, who had become Marcus's strongest supporter, floated forward. "With respect, that's exactly what you wanted to study. How intelligence develops in the presence of deadly predators. Well, now you're seeing it firsthand." Marcus nodded to a mind hunter, who projected a series of complex mathematical equations into the air using its psychic abilities. "They're not just solving our puzzles anymore. They're creating their own. They're teaching each other. Just like humans did, they're turning survival skills into tools for advancement." The station had been transformed. Where there were once sterile containment cells, now there were interconnected learning spaces. Predators that once would have torn each other apart now worked together, each species contributing its unique abilities to the community. "Watch this," Marcus said, pulling out a new device. It projected a holographic maze that would have taken most computers hours to solve. The predators gathered around, clicking and humming in their various languages. Within minutes, they had not only solved it but improved upon its design. "We've started a proper education program," Blue explained to the council. "Each species learns from the others. The shadow stalkers teach spatial awareness, the mind hunters teach problem solving, and the crystal spines teach social organization. They all learn different hunting techniques from each other, but not for killing, for understanding." A younger crystal spine approached Marcus with what looked like a crude drawing made by dragging claws through metal. It showed a map of the station, with new areas marked for different activities. Marcus smiled and added the design to their project database. "They're not just accepting our teachings," he told the council. "They're planning their own future. They understand that working together makes them stronger than fighting each other." "And what happens when they decide they don't need us anymore?" a council member asked nervously. Marcus laughed, and surprisingly, several of the predators made sounds that seemed like laughter too. "They already don't need us. That's the point. They choose to work with us because they understand the value of cooperation. Just like early humans learned to work with wolves instead of just hunting them." Blue pulled up the latest research data. "Their intelligence levels have stabilized at a remarkable point. They're not trying to overtake us, but they've developed a form of wisdom we never expected. They understand their place in the universe, and they're curious about learning more." The Mind Hunters demonstrated this by creating a complex psychic model of their solar system, showing how they understood their place in space. The Shadow Stalkers added to it by phasing through the model, pointing out details that even the station's best scientists hadn't noticed. "We're not asking for permission to continue," Marcus said firmly to the council. "We're showing you what's possible when you stop trying to control intelligence and start trying to nurture it. These creatures aren't our experiments anymore. They're our partners in understanding the universe." Rex, the crystal spine leader, stepped forward and made a series of clicks that Blue had learned to translate. "He says they want to learn about other worlds, other species. They want to understand how everything connects." The council members looked at each other, realizing that their simple research station had become something unprecedented, a school for intelligent predators, guided by the principles that had made humanity itself survive and thrive among Earth's deadliest creatures. "Maybe," Marcus said softly, watching the various species work together, "this is what Earth was preparing us for all along." 5 years had passed since Marcus first stepped onto Deep Wild Station. The facility had grown, with new wings and research centers added to accommodate its expanding mission. Today, representatives from 50 alien worlds crowded the observation deck, watching in amazement as Rex, the Crystal Spine Pack leader, taught a class on territorial management to a mixed group of younger predators. Marcus stood at the back of the room, a proud smile on his face. Blue floated beside him, their jellyfish body glowing with the deep purple of satisfaction. "Remember when they thought these creatures could only destroy?" Blue asked. "Look at them now," Marcus replied, watching as a shadow stalker demonstrated advanced phasing techniques to help a mind hunter understand spatial relationships. The two species had developed their own shared language, a mixture of clicks, psychic pulses, and body movements. A small delegation from Earth had arrived that morning, the first human scientists allowed to visit the station besides Marcus. They stood open-mouthed as Rex solved a quantum physics problem by manipulating crystal formations with his claws, teaching the concept to others through a series of practice movements. "Your research paper changed everything," one of the Earth scientists said to Blue. The jellyfish alien had become the galaxy's leading expert on predator intelligence, their work forcing the scientific community to completely rethink their understanding of evolution. "I just documented what Marcus showed us was possible," Blue responded modestly. "He taught us that intelligence doesn't just come from safety and comfort. Sometimes it comes from learning to survive among dangerous things." Through the station's windows, they could see transport ships arriving from various worlds, bringing new species to study and learn at what had become known as the Predator Academy. The council, after much debate, had finally acknowledged that this experiment had become something far more important than they'd intended. Marcus walked over to the main teaching area, where Rex was finishing his lesson. The massive creature, now showing signs of age in his graying crystal spines, acknowledged Marcus with the respectful head tilt they'd established years ago. Around them, younger predators of all species watched with interest. This was history they were witnessing. "They want to see the recording," Marcus said to the gathered crowd. "The one from my first day here." Rex made a sound of approval, and the station's AI began playing the footage on the main screen. The assembled aliens watched in wonder as the old recording showed Marcus entering the crystal spine habitat for the first time. Many had seen it before. It had become required viewing for anyone studying interspecies relations. But seeing it here, with the actual creatures involved watching too, made it special. "That day changed our understanding of intelligence forever," Blue announced to the crowd. "We learned that what we saw as savagery in humans was actually a deep understanding of life's complexity. Their world of predators didn't make them violent. It made them wise." The younger predators watched the recording with particular interest. For them, the idea of separate habitats and species conflicts seemed strange. They had grown up in the new system, where cooperation and mutual learning were normal. A group of mind hunters approached Marcus, their silver bodies rippling with complex patterns. Over the years, they had developed their psychic abilities not for hunting, but for teaching and sharing knowledge. They projected images of new training programs they had designed, seeking his approval. See how they want to teach others, Marcus explained to the Earth scientists. They'd gone from being the galaxy's deadliest predators to becoming some of its best teachers. They understand that passing on knowledge is more powerful than any physical weapon. Rex made a series of clicks, which the station's AI translated for everyone. We were not meant to be kept apart. The human showed us we were meant to learn from each other. Now we teach this to all who come here. Blue's tentacles waved with emotion. When the Council sent that first message to Earth, asking for help with their deadliest predators, they didn't know they were about to discover something remarkable. They thought they were studying how humans survived among predators. Instead, they learned how predators helped make humans what they are. Marcus watched as the next generation of predators began their own lessons, teaching each other skills that their ancestors would have used for killing, but they now used for learning and growth. The station had become more than a research facility or even a school. It was living proof that intelligence could flourish in the most unexpected places. We didn't master them, Marcus said softly, as Rex gathered his students for their next lesson. We just helped them master themselves. And in doing so, we proved what humanity has always known, that sometimes the most dangerous things in life can become our greatest teachers. Above them, the purple gas giant turned slowly, witness to a revolution that had changed the galaxy's understanding of intelligence, predators, and the remarkable species from Earth who had shown them all a better way.